Hello and welcome into this week's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Cup preview show, we are looking ahead to today's Pennzoil 400 from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're going to look at the starting lineup, final practice times. There were supposed to be 2 race practice sessions that we were going to look at, but one of them got rained out. So we only have one to look at. We're going to hear thoughts from the pole winner, and then we are going to make a prediction for today's Pennzoil 400 winner. So you want to stick around for that. All right, so let's go ahead and look at qualifying that happened on Friday. Kevin Harvick takes the pole in this one, a lap of 29.914, 180.517 on the speed. Denny Hamlin will join him on the front row. Row 2 will be Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, Daniel Hemrick. David Reagan, shout out to David Reagan for making the final round of qualifying. He qualified in 6th. Kyle Larson, Ricky Stenhouse making up row 4. Jimmy Johnson, Joey Logano, the rest of the top 10. Now, let's look at Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott down here in 11th and 12th. They did make the final round, but the gamesmanship of group qualifying is very interesting to me, and I've said that for a long time. And it ends up screwing some guys over sometimes because they try to play games, and it doesn't work out for them. The way that qualifying was working, at least this time around, was your second lap was going to be your faster lap. So every one of these 12 cars waited until the last possible second to come off pit road, and they all came off in a group to where they would all come around, they would make one timed lap, and then they would get to the line just in time to start that second lap before the clock hit 0. Well, some of them didn't time it as well as they probably should have. Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott being 2 of those cars, they were at the back of this pack and did not make it to the line in time before the clock hit 0. Now, the bad part about this is they went ahead and made that lap because they weren't sure if they had made it or not. Both of them ran the 2 fastest laps in that session. Alex Bowman would have been on the pole, Chase Elliott would have been on the outside pole had they made it to the line in time. So, I don't know if there's a solution to that, and I think it's just part of the game that you play with group qualifying, and I don't know that there's a way to really fix that, because they all know the game, and they all play the game, just sometimes you get burned by playing that game. So as we look down through the rest of the starting lineup here, we see Ryan Blaney just barely. He missed the final round by 0.006 of a second, just absolutely crazy how close that comes. Clint Boyer starting far back in the field, 17th. Eric Jones as well, 18th. Same for Brad Keselowski and William Byron there, 19th and 20th in row 10. Daniel Suarez, not any better. He's back in 22nd. Martin Truex Jr. even worse, back in 23rd. We've got a lot of big names back here starting far in the back that didn't even make even the second round, some of them. Matt DiBenedetto will start from the 26th position. Kurt Busch in 28th. Ryan Newman back here in 29th. He's got a fast car. We've seen him be fast in practice this weekend. And some of these guys, there's a lot of these guys that do have fast cars, so it will be interesting to see them work their way through the field from starting positions that are very deep in the field. All right, so let's look at the one race practice that took place yesterday, Saturday afternoon. There were supposed to be 2 race practices yesterday, but the first one got rained out. It rained a lot of the morning in Vegas. That scrubbed a lot of the on-track activity for the morning. Austin Dillon actually topping this practice session with a time of 30.299, 178.224 miles per hour. His teammate Daniel Hemrick not too far behind, only about 0.2 off there for Daniel Hemrick. Those Richard Childress racing cars have brought some speed here to Vegas, and they will be interesting to watch here in this race. Ricky Stenhouse also fast. We got a lot of Fords here right in a row here. Stenhouse, Almirola, Keselowski, Newman, then the Chevrolet of Kurt Busch, another Ford and Daniel Suarez, and then 2 Toyotas to round out the top 10 in Kyle Busch and Eric Jones. So, a lot of cars fast here this weekend that we probably expect to be fast. There's a lot of these cars that we'll notice were actually far down the running order for the starting lineup in this race. Namely, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman was way back there, Kurt Busch, Daniel Suarez. So a lot of these guys have race pace. They didn't necessarily have qualifying pace. So it'll be interesting to see some of these guys try to work their way through the field in this race. All right, so before we get to a race prediction today, we're going to head over to the Media Center, and we're going to see what Kevin Harvick had to say about his qualifying lap for this race.
Yeah, well, I think you've already seen it. So, we as a team, we go out and play by the rules that are presented to us. And, I think as you look at today, it was, and we talked about this beforehand, may not be the fastest car that gets the pole today. It's going to come down to timing and strategy, and we worked on some things with our car to try to do the right things and wound up in a good spot. So I'll leave that up to you guys on how to wrap your arms around it.
All right, so now it's time to pick a winner for the Pennzoil 400, and to be completely honest with you, I just sat here for like 10 minutes, and I still don't know who I want to pick for this race. I'm looking at practice times, I'm trying to think about past trends in this race, but the problem that I keep coming back to is this new package. I don't know what this race is going to give us. And it's going to come down to who's fast on short runs versus who's fast on long runs. I'm looking at the best 10-lap average chart from practice, and it's a lot of the same guys that are on top of the list, on top of the single-lap charts, but all of these guys, Hemrick, Dillon, Keselowski, Almirola, Busch, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, Ryan Newman, they're all fast in the beginning of the run. They set their best 10-lap average in the first 10 laps of their long run that they did in practice. Whereas some guys like Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse, Joey Logano, they set fast times later in their run. Kyle Busch was lap 37 to 46 was when he set his fast lap that was only less than 1 full mile an hour off of the average that Hemrick set, who Hemrick was fastest on this best 10-lap average chart. So the question becomes, do you go for somebody with short run speed or do you go for somebody with long run speed in this race? A typical Vegas race, we get a lot of long green flag runs. We did not get a lot of long green flag runs in this race back in the fall. This race had a lot of carnage back in the fall. And then you've also got to take the new package into account. What kind of racing is that going to produce today? Are we going to see a lot of wrecks in this race? Is this package going to produce a lot of attrition in this race? So are we going to have more short runs than we do long runs? This is what I'm wrestling with right now to pick a winner for this race. And honestly, I think I'm just going to have to pick a name here because I don't know. I'm going to go with Eric Almirola. 4th fastest on this best 10-lap average chart. The 2 RCR cars topped this list as well. Hemrick was fastest on the best 10-lap average at 176.181. Austin Dillon not very far behind him. Brad Keselowski right behind him. And then Eric Almirola in 4th. I don't really have a lot of reason for picking Almirola, to be completely honest, other than I think Almirola is due to get a win at this point. He finally broke through and got that first Stewart-Haas win for himself back at Talladega. He's been fast every race so far this season, as have basically all of the Mustangs. I think Almirola puts it together today. He's got that short run speed. I think short run speed is what it's going to come down to late in the race. We may have a lot of long runs up to that point, so these guys with long run speed might shine early, but I think the guys with short run speed are going to be the ones that take control of this race late, as I think we're going to have a decent amount of attrition late in this race. So Eric Almirola wins the Pennzoil 400. Man, will I feel good if I get that right, because I feel like I'm picking a Daytona or a Talladega winner at this point, because I have no idea what's going to happen in this race. And I don't think I've ever felt like that in a mile-and-a-half race, or at least not in a long time. This race is such an unknown right now. I don't know what's going to happen today. I really don't. And to be honest, it has me kind of excited. I do want to see this race, to see what this package produces, to see if this is going to be the true savior that NASCAR seems to think that it is, now that we're getting the complete, full rollout of this package today. I am very curious to see what this package does. Is it going to be the great messiah that NASCAR thinks it's going to be, or is it going to be a flop like so many other people seem to think it's going to be? I'm willing to give it a chance. We saw some good racing in Atlanta last week. It wasn't great racing. It was a little better than a typical Atlanta race. It wasn't much better, but it wasn't the full package either. We're getting the full package now. So I am cautiously optimistic to see what we're going to see today, and I'm cautiously hopeful as to what we're going to see today. But I think that's all we got for you on this Cup Series preview show. We will have a rewind show go up tonight as well to talk about this race. Whatever ended up happening today, we will be here to talk about it on tonight's rewind show. And then, of course, as usual, pole position premieres 8 p.m. tomorrow evening, Monday evening, to quickly catch you up on everything that happened this weekend. But I believe that'll do it. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And while you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video? It is much appreciated when you do, and it helps us out so much when you do that. It really does. But at that, this has been the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.